Hi everybody, I'm Marcia McCarrow.
Hello everyone, I'm Carol Cooper.
And we're here today with Steve West, author and public speaker. Hello Steve.
Hello Marcia, hello Carol, how are we doing?
Really well, thank you.
Really well, thank you Steve.
Fantastic. Steve, can you give us some contact details please? How can people get hold of you?
Right, I have several. The first one, I'm on LinkedIn under Steve West. You can come and find me there. Also Twitter, which is only one Westie. Instagram, which is only one Westie again. And I have my own website, which is stevebwest1.co.uk.
Fantastic. Just repeat that website again.
stevebwest1.co.uk.
Is that all lowercase, Steve? Just to
It is all lowercase, yes.
Okay.
And number one is in the number.
Yeah, brilliant.
Right.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, once again, thank you for giving up your time, Steve, to be with us today and to be interviewed by Carol and myself as part of the series Just Take a Minute. So we're going to start into the questions now. So I know that you've published now your second book. The
Correct.
first one I've got here, Chefs and Turkey. I've got here, yeah, and then you've got the second book that you've done is Fathers and Mothers, and Seeing Through the Eyes of Other Silent Work. So,
Correct.
Can you tell us what your inspiration was for writing the books?
The first one really was a bucket list thing. You know, get a book out, do a bucket list. And I'm selling Chefs and Turkeys and Fathers and Mothers for Hospitality Action. Then the funds go back into that. But the Chefs and Turkeys is really anecdotal, bit of humorous stories, couple of naughty ones in there. Being a chef for 40 years, you know, it's not. There's been some roller coaster rides. Some things I couldn't write in there, as you can probably imagine. Fathers and Mothers. My dad passed away a few years ago, and we had a big fallout. Really, it was a big fallout, a personal fallout, and in Fathers and Mothers. I went to see with my children, his grandchildren, in 2008, and he was suffering from depression at the time. So I took them over for a few days, 10 days over in San Francisco. And with us falling out, and parents and sons and children do, it was hard to overcome as seeing as my dad, and it was hard to tell him that I loved him. It was his personal story. The year later, I found out he had cancer, and I thought, I'm going to go and see him. But I wanted to bridge a gap. I wanted to see how I could bridge that gap in seeing that my dad was a human being. And it's hard as a dad myself to sort of not see your child for so long. So I decided to journalise the journey, the last days I spent with him, and to see through other eyes. And I wrote down a journal from the 10 days we were there, and there was some stuff, and he drove me crazy. And yeah, we laughed, we drank, and it was seeing through other eyes that then inspired me then to write the book. But then I had letters that were gave to me from my dad's girlfriend from 1959 from his mum, my grandmother. The first letter stating that, and this is all journalised in the book as well, 1959. And it basically said this, the gist was this, it's a very long letter from my grandmother to my dad. My mum at the time felt that he didn't love her. Now, my dad moved from Tamworth, Polesworth, to London, as my grandma would call it, the Sin City, or Sin City, and the perspective came in. And it went through the fact that the Sin City fired up the excitement of it. And Dad was a bit of a player, I've got to be honest. And it scared me because I felt like I was going down my dad's route, it became too similar, if you like. And that was from 1959. He never really changed his ways. He was a funny guy. He was a chef himself in the 50s and 60s, so you can imagine how un-PC it was. But my main purpose was to go and see through others' eyes, his friends, his girlfriend, what resonated with them I could take away with me. And when I started getting the letters from a chronological order, I wanted to then build a picture. And then I started to talk about addictions, the hedonistic lifestyle. And I link it very much to things like addictions, salted caramel, the likes, and the addictions of the blue thumbs. And I've called it the unseen omnipresence of the unseen, of the likes, the little hits of the car salesman, people hooking you in every moment on Facebook and here, hooking you in. And then I started thinking about then, how can I reconnect with him? And it's all journalized through real letters from 1959. And that really was my inspiration. And then I opened it up. I wanted real people from a real bloke's perspective, talking about limiting beliefs, building yourself up. My own personal limiting belief was approval. That was from childhood. And we had many, and carried through it through my career. My big burly chef, is that all right, chef? It's all right, Steve, shut up. You worry too much. That's basically the gist of it. And so with the limiting beliefs, I then opened it up to what I call the apothecary table of the labels in our mind, that if we get rid of these limiting beliefs, we can really build a life. And having mental illness and being on the brink of suicide many years ago, I know that it's possible through positive self-motivation, not being trapped in the omnipresence of these not real things. Our real stuff's inside. We just can't see it because of physical manifestations. And then the book started to come alive. And really, to put a gist on it, it was the first part was it was life's past, what has passed. Just notice the present. We need to live in the moment. What we do with ourselves is gone, and our past lives, they are the sum of us, but they don't define us. And that's what came out with the message, really. And we all have the power to change. And that is the essence of the book. Yeah. It's dark in some places. It's dark in some places.
You went to see your father and to talk to people that knew him well, to find out what it was about him that resonated with them.
Correct.
And my next question is just that. Who did you hope that your book would resonate with when you wrote it?
Real people who doubt themselves, real people who have low self-esteem, real people who have who don't believe in themselves, and they really need to believe that each person on this planet is an individual person with the chance to have the best life. And really, that's who I was opening it up to, because fathers and mothers seen through others, not only being a really good rhyme, in the book, it opens up about that person in front of us is a theatre. And I really explore behind the theatre of that person that we see. I've even put a multiple choice question in there as well, if you like your homework. So, and it was, what's behind the words? What's behind the conversation? Is it a conversation or is it a one-way street? What are they hiding? And we all have an image, or we all had something that, not that we're hiding in a sinister way, are hiding from the world because people are scared of opening up. And that's who I want to reach out and resonate to. So it's based on real life, just observations from just a bloke who just wrote a book about his family and observations and having children myself.
Yeah, fabulous. So is there a motto that you live your life by? And if there is, what is it and why?
Oh, there's two. There's two mottos, which is a lecturer. I've got goosebumps actually thinking about this, sorry, but it's something I go to my students. And I've got some really good news as well as we go through. Impossible's only a word.
Yeah.
By Muhammad Ali. Muhammad, it's just impossible. It's only a word. And if you look up the word impossible, it just means improbable, which means it's possible.
Yeah.
So when my students, there's one word I don't allow in the classroom, and that's can't. I can't do it. Okay, let's flip this. Impossible is only a word, and it's bandied about by small men. It really, in the shortened version, have no aspirations. That's impossible. Yeah, no, it's not. Everything's possible.
Yeah.
Anything is possible. The other ones, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. Yeah. And life is scary. And we have to embrace that out of the comfort zone feeling. And the comfort zone becomes the new comfort zone. And it's something I really believe in, and impossible. You just follow your dreams and you can do it.
Yeah. So how does your motto play out in terms of your career? And you've alluded to you're still working with students at the moment. So explain a little bit more about how that motto plays out in the work that you do.
Yes, the good news is I've got a job at Derby College. They've asked me to go back to cover till Christmas, so I'm really pleased to get back into that.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Steve.
Thank you very much, Carol. Appreciate it. Good to see your happy, smiling face here again. Too long. And the journey, if you like, the positives are towards a goal like this, and many opportunities that have come up. So, as impossible, it's basically, how can I put this succinctly? It's impossible as in, you have to get out of your head negative thoughts, the negativity, to make things happen.
Yeah.
So the impossible, we can't see the future. Nobody can see the future, both good and bad. And in real terms, impossible, everything is possible if you put your mind to it. Now, I'm trying to articulate this. Years down the line, when I was teaching, people, I was very scared. I went to university. I was a single parent. And when I was bringing my boys up, I decided that being a freelance chef was difficult to sustain the house, have a home for my boys, but I decided to stay home with my boys. But do you know what? I knew in my mind I was going to lose the house. And thinking back, it's quite emotive.
Yeah.
But my point being, when I went into teaching, I went into that class, first off, the lecturer said, "Steve, you okay?" I went white. I felt my blood drain. I felt sick. I felt nauseous. And she put her hands on the desk like, she said, "Steve, are you okay?" "No, I feel sick. I want to throw up." There's all these lovely people. They know stuff. Okay, let's bear with it a few weeks. I got, it was difficult to get through at that time. So as time went on, I had to find myself doing peer assessments and going for teacher training. And I asked her, I said, how creative can we be? How can we be us in this? Be creative as you want, Steve. Bang, right, let's go for this. Give me the information I need, I'll be creative with it. So as time went on, I was knocking out the impossible blocks, the assignments. I was so tired, Marcy, I can't tell, I was so tired. I was supposed to pick my boy up. And I'm saying this as a really extreme example of how you can drive yourself to a really positive place just by digging deep. So I was supposed to pick my boy up from the bus stop. I fell asleep on the couch. The assignments at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. He came home. I didn't know he come home. 2 days on the trot, Master, 2 days. He put a cover over me. And at 8 or 9 years old, I taught him how to cook. So when I went to university, he cooked for his older brother for 4 hours a week. He put the covers over me and I could see through my little blurry eyes. He's on the computer, just playing a little penguin game, go back, cook. And it's important for me to say this because then that really highlights where I am now. 2 days he'd cook, he'd cover me over. I was like, I can't do it. They shouldn't be looking after me. It should be the other way around. You have to dig deep. So I've got goosebumps talking about it. And then go to college. Again, Phil, see, I've got these students in front of me. I've got to tell them stuff. I've got to give them a future. And then we got observed. I got observed at a 4. It was appalling, but they didn't tell me why. As time went on, I got a bit more confident. I need to refine my practice. I need to get these students, my team, as I called them, on board. And I had one observer, Shani Wright, used to work. She was a teaching and learning coach at Derby College. And she was going to observe me. And I'd do the activities. I loved them getting the students involved, writing stuff. It was health and safety. It was boring and dry, but do little cutouts. I think it was entry level, level 1. And I'm okay. Yeah, they're all active and they're having a good time. Never had a problem with being observed because some teachers think observations are negative. It's not. Take the observation, take the feedback and refine your skill to become the best lecturer you can be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what we have feedback for. It's not a knocking. So, and she turned around, she observed the class, she talked to the students. I've got, okay, I'm comfortable with this. I've got no qualms with this at all. Any feedback improves us. So I said to Shani, it's the first person besides my chef 40 years ago who trusted me. And they'll get on. She said, well, we'll sit down later, we'll have our feedback. But she said, I'm going to tell you this. She says, I will trust my children with you. I will get you to teach my children. And I'm like, wow. And I'm going away going, how'd I do that? I didn't know. I'm like, really? Okay. Let's break this down. So we had the meeting. My feedback was, I didn't assess enough. I didn't assess enough. I just did it at the end of the lesson. So she taught me how to live assess through the class. Wow, I'm on it. And I got bored with talk and PowerPoint. I'm yawning at PowerPoint. I need to explode this. I'm looking at new techniques. I'm taking risks now. Taking risks on risks what other people were telling me is impossible to do. Other lecturers, what are you doing that for? I'm doing it because if I'm not excited about it, my students are not going to be excited about it. They're not going to have a life. I haven't done my job.
Yeah.
I don't get that. And I'm sorry. But so I broke down the impossible barriers of my own personal barriers to challenge myself to give the students the best experience ever. And that's how impossible breaks it down. But then the impossible is getting my students and my team to understand that impossible for them is not impossible either. And that's really in real time how it happens to get to where I am now.
So there seems to be a number of people that have had a significant impact on your journey, starting with your father, maybe, and your parents to begin with. And also you've talked about the students, and you've also talked about this assessor that had come in, this colleague that had come into the classroom that has made an impact on your life.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Could you catalogue for us who those significant people are and what impact they did make on your journey?
Yeah. Now, as much as you talked about my dad there, now as much as we have negative, or we perceive as negative on our lives, even the darkness has a resonance, because it can either remind us of ourselves, and it is a society whereby we need to open up the darkness sometimes to see the light.
Absolutely.
And the book does go into dark places, but it's balanced out because I'm a funny fella, and there's some humorous stuff in there as well, which I try and bring through to balance it. It needs that balance. It needs that feminine, masculine type, yin and yang, the balance. It needs the balance. So there is a bit of dark stuff. So with seeing my dad, yes, because, and strangely enough, I never had much to do with my dad. My mum brought me up, really. My dad went. The things that me and my dad had, even though he had no influence on my life, and this is the nature-nurtured question, I like the stuff he did, the jazz, the being a chef, being a lecturer. I followed his path, almost in his footsteps. I didn't have anything to do with him, which is really strange. So, in the book, I very much talk about hashtags or the stepladder of people we need in our lives that maybe at that starting point then gives us another lift. Then we talk to other people, another person. You then open yourself up because you've knocked out the negativity block wall of negativity and self-doubt as well. There was a massive amount of self-doubt. Other people then magnetize to you. Other great people magnetize to you. Oh, Steve, have you tried this fish philosophy? Have you tried that? Have you talked about that? And then Jackie Nichols, she was one of the lecturers at college. She got cancer, and her strength gives you strength, and you can feed into that strength.
Mm.
So as you progress, and I call them the hashtags in the book, because at the end of the day, that first sentence from Shaney changed my students' life, because it allowed me to take risks, to give them the wherewithal to have a life. So we're all interconnected. The No Man is an Island poem is a fantastic poem.
Yeah.
We could break it down because we need each other.
Yeah.
Open up the negativity, ditch it, don't feed it, and you start opening up where people come to you and they may recognize something. And then another chap, Steve Spence, who observed me on higher education, foundation degree, international management. He came to observe me on a Monday morning doing finance. And I'm like, it was week 12, just before Christmas. He come in, Steve, I'm going to observe you. By then, I've got the guys generating. They're building their own hotels. They're doing costings. Steve Spence came in. You're right. We're talking about break-even points. We're talking about staffing levels. But we started off at week 1. We started building their hotels at week 1. Groups
That's really
down.
Good.
Because I saw, because the taking risks, if you see with open eyes and you see, right, week 12, they've got to know about running costs, fixed costs, wages, linen. They've got to know about that by week 12. And I've gone, actually, why don't they start building their hotel in week 1? Each week we start building up. How many staff do you need? Well, I've got a 4-bedroom hotel on the beach. I'm going to staff it up with 20 chefs, 55 waiting staff, 1 million housekeeping staff. Okay, in week 6, we'll revisit that and see if the costs will really work them out.
Yeah.
So we refined it. It didn't matter at week 1. They were building their hotels, they had cabaret acts and everything cracking off for 5 people in their restaurant. Obviously, I was going there.
Oh dear. The power of imagination.
Wonderful.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
But it's seeing what's down the line through the qualification handbook, and actually that'll link in nicely with that. So when they went out to the jury's in to do housekeeping, bang, oh right, I get it now. Because we're putting stuff into place, they don't even know what their future is. I've already predicted their future just by putting it out there. And then by week 12, so week 12 came, Monday morning, finance, really. And they're like that, the students are there. But they're building their hotels. I got a business lecturer in to come and do, what's that thing called? Where the millionaires come together. They had to sell their idea to the business marketing.
At Dragon's Den.
Correct. We did a Dragon's Den. And they were up there. They were doing revenue and costs, and they were up there. They were supporting each other. And Steve went, wow. He said, I was only supposed to be here for 5 minutes. 45 minutes later, he left. It was blown away. Techniques on PowerPoint. I changed PowerPoints I looked at different techniques to do PowerPoint. And each day, and this is an important tip for anybody that wants to get on. Yes, it's all about the students during the working day. Stay at work for an hour to do something creative for yourself, because you never know what that brings, be it Moodle, be it online platforms, be it new techniques. Give something back to yourself on the day. You're regenerating and re-energizing yourself, exciting yourself for the next day. So he was blown away by it. And he invited me then to actually the last day of colleges, like when we do the showcasing, he says, Steve, can you help me out by showcasing your brilliant ideas to other lecturers? Am I qualified? Yeah, are you sure? The stuff you're doing, I've just, okay, brilliant. This isn't an ego thing, by the way. This actually happened. And I think it's important to know that when you take risks, you start believing, and other people start believing in yourself, things happen. So I sat there, I was doing the PowerPoint, we did our presentation, we did 4 sessions in one day, I think 3 or 4. And in front of me was another teaching and learning coach. And I said to myself, really? I'm actually teaching now a teaching and learning coach who should know better. Yeah. Have I made it? No, I'm just enjoying the journey because I'm going to do something. You take 5 things away from me, I'll share practices, I'll find another 10 to excite.
It is about, sharing. When we watch other people and as we're interviewing other people, there's other things that pop up as people are talking that you take away. So it's not a case of, that person, that teaching and learning coach doesn't know, but what it does show me is that teaching and learning coach that was in your audience was open-minded enough to know that she wasn't or he wasn't doing everything that possibly could be done and was willing to learn from somebody else. That to me is what it's about, that you're willing to say, actually, I haven't got all the answers. I'm never going to have all the answers, but actually I'm willing to listen to other people and learn from their experiences. So for us, that question about the people that have impacted your life is an interesting one, really, because there seems to be a lot of people around the education side of your journey that have impacted where you are and how you've got to where you are today. Which is brilliant.
Very much. From the culinary side, I've just got to say there was one chef that really took upon himself to take me under his wing. One chef in the whole time. And having mental illness back then, I just want to say this very quickly. You're not learning skills. You're learning how to survive. And I would have been in a better place if I'd had the teacher right at the beginning. And that's what I want to put through to the students as well.
Yeah.
And really remembering that, because there's parents' children in your class. You've got responsibility for that, and that comes through, and you've got to help them with that as well. There was one chef, but the teaching was really when it exploded, and it's such a great privileged place to be.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. I'll pass you over to Carol.
Okay.
Steve, where am I coming from with this next question? Because this is loaded with asking you about the challenges to where, you know, that you've had in your life to getting where you are today. How have you overcome them? Well, you've just spent a long time now telling us about that, explaining it to us, which is, it's wonderful. You know, I've taken loads of notes from things that you've said, and, you know,
Thank you.
It's been rewarding. But I just would like to ask if there's anything more significant that's happened in your life, you know, any other challenges that you haven't mentioned, and how, because of all the problems that you've obviously faced and overcome, how have you overcome any other challenges? Has there been anything else of any significance? Although what you've said has been extremely significant.
I think a challenge now is from the time of when I went to university and I was bringing up my kids. That was a challenge, and there are always challenges when, let's say, you know, you split out from a partner and you think you're going to be with for the rest of your life, and all of a sudden it's just whipped away.
Yeah.
The challenges of really the perception of challenges now, Carol, if I can explain it, have changed because of a mindset now. Because, okay, when I had mental illness, and there was an intervention before I was looking at committing suicide, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
It wasn't a matter of I was going to commit suicide. It was a matter of how was I going to do it. It got to that point. And, you know, God willing, it happened that there was intervention. But the challenge that at that time was really, at that particular time, was actually, how am I going to get through the next day? I couldn't sleep, the anxiety, depression. And it was trying to survive. And even my best friends, when I put a post out there a couple of years back, I got an article printed. Even my friends at the time didn't know, because you put a front up, and the busyness of the kitchen was like a godsend because it was busy. My mind wasn't. It was those moments of quietness that really used to. The thoughts were coming in, and it was for many, many years. I didn't really realise how bad it was, because you don't. You deny yourself. You're in denial, actually, and you think that you don't want to talk about it. It's too embarrassing, and you leave yourself. Oh, you leave yourself in that dark place, but you almost make it your own comfort zone.
Yeah.
So as time went on, the challenge of the children, looking after them, knowing full well I lost the house anyway, which comes down to resignation. And then the challenge mindset game comes in. Actually, do you know what? They're not challenges anymore. They're not challenges. I want to challenge myself to be better than what I was before.
Yeah.
Because
that road. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the challenge mindset changed. Actually, it's not a challenge anymore. It becomes exciting because you learn not to be scared of an outcome you can't predict.
Yeah.
You put actions in place,
Yeah.
and very much getting rid of the blocks of negativity in your mind. Because once you have negativity in your mind,
Yeah.
and I deliberately didn't write in the book about COVID. I thought about it.
Mm.
I think I mentioned it once in the book. And I did not want to mention COVID because it does not deserve any credence in any human being's life at all. Because once you put that negativity thing in there,
Yeah.
I didn't want to feed negativity. And once people have negative thoughts in their mind, could be ever how small, a post on Facebook has got a negative comment. You play that in your mind,
Mm-hmm.
you're giving it credence, you're feeding it,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
shoveling it.
Mm. Mm.
The more you shovel it, no matter how big, no small, you're
People
feeding
just go
it.
with it, don't they? Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
But what they don't see is it blocks, it puts up a wall, and you're almost building a wall actually to what people tell their own future in their own mind, which is not going to exist 99% of the time.
Mm. Yeah.
There are people in bad places. They've been made redundant. It's a horrible time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there are people with real problems which need resolving, which need starting points, and there's help out there if they know where to find it.
Yeah.
So with the negativity, you're trying to deal with it. And let's say the balance of that, if you like, and I'll put my house as an example, there was a moment in my life I went, resign yourself to the problem, resign yourself to the fact you're going to lose your house. You can't sustain it. After that resignation comes a peace. After that resignation,
Yeah.
after you resign yourself to the fact, I don't know what future, comes contentment.
Yeah.
Because then you leave yourself open to positivity.
You do.
Does that make sense to you, Carol?
Makes total sense because it just lifts that blanket that you're carrying around with you over your head. That
Yeah.
once you resign yourself to acceptance, that's when doors start to open and your mind is open more to things happening.
And it works.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, and it works.
And it
works.
works. Which leads me through to the next question, really. You have talked about a lot of achievements, and you've obviously been very successful in turning your life around, which is extremely admirable.
Thank you.
And it needs recognition because it's a hard thing to do. So, any other achievements that you would like to share with us, and something that's actually stood out and been really important to you as an achievement? What would that be?
Right. I'm going to put a cliche on this with my children.
Yeah, it's fab. Yeah.
I have my lad up there, university. I've got my second leg going to university now. And I'll probably split two actually, professional and personal, because they run hand in hand actually. Yes, achievements of, very proud of my two boys and the family I've got now. So I've got two stepchildren. They're brilliant. One's looking at A levels next year. My stepson is a farmer. Finished his days at Derby College as well. He's a farmer. I've got my eldest lad. He's got his university garb on. Got his mortar, and I think is it a mortar hat? Is it
Mortar? Yeah.
Mortar, yeah. He passed his degree.
Proud moment. Yeah.
It wasn't academic. He's not the academic of sorts, but he did, and he nailed it. He's now just finished a job in France to work for Ubisoft, one of the top gaming softwares, which it's straight over my head.
Yeah, me too.
and on the 10th, he goes to Germany because he's got another job as well. Independent, happy. My other lad is going to Loughborough University doing politics. What he doesn't know about politics would shame the politicians Anything I need to know about politics to make me look good, to spout it out. Here, Max, what did it say? How does that work? Yeah, makes me look good. I don't tell him that. He gets it. He gets it. And yes, as achievement-wise, from, let's say, well, the time when he put the blanket over me, those and there, and do you know what my son said once to me? He was young at primary school. I don't know where it comes from. And he says, "You know what, Dad? It's." I think I was talking to him because we talk really frankly and honestly now, and he's 22, 25. We're open and honest, and we can talk about anything. In fact, that if anything as a parent, isn't that an achievement in itself that we can talk frankly about the past and about us? He's actually, I'd say he's my best friend. I can tell him anything, both of them. And he says, "You know what, Dad?" He says, "Making mistakes." He said, "The biggest mistake is not trying again." I'm like, "It was only 10. Really?" And that was verbatim. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And now he's reaching 40 at 10 years old. I was like, really? Where'd you get this stuff from? He's a heavy thinker. He's very much, he wants to help people.
Yeah. Oh, I understand that. That's part of a thinker's way of life, isn't it? Thinking through and trying to support other people.
Oh, yeah. And
yeah, absolutely.
He wants to use the politics. He wants to be a Kofi Annan, like part of the UN, if you like, part of those people to help others. But he wants to learn politics to go down that route to help people on the bigger picture. That's his main aim and outcome. Wow, really? He's 22. What?
Yeah.
And yes, as an achievement, I'm going to take that as their achievements.
So I think they're wonderful achievements, and I think that you can say that honestly, because a lot of people can't say that about their families. So, Steve, what